Well, Leonardo DiCaprio climbed aboard the sinking ship. He's used to it. Of Kamala Harris over the last few days, and the latest to be back is Arnold Schwarzenegger, a one-time Republican governor of California. I'm not sure how much value the Schwarzenegger endorsement will have. I have my doubts that it will be enough to stop the tide, the huge electoral tide that is now sweeping away Democratic hopes of holding the White House and the Senate and the House of Representatives. It might well be a red wave, a red wall that will sweep everything before it. I've been predicting here for some months that Donald Trump is on his way back to the White House. Now, I say to my American audience a couple of important things. Donald Trump is not my candidate. I have been supporting since 2016 Dr. Jill Stein, and I will support her until the end. The only Jewish candidate for president, the only candidate that stands foursquare against the slaughter of other people's children in America's Israel war. So nothing that I'm about to say should take away from the fact that my loyalty to Jill Stein is absolute. But if you're going to ask me if I'll be happy if Donald Trump is in the White House after the 5th of November, my answer is the same as it was in 2016. I'm not happy that Donald Trump will be the President of the United States, but I'm very happy indeed that Kamala Harris will not. Indeed, I'm even happier that Kamala Harris will not than I was that Hillary Clinton was not when I first said that back in 2016. It's not a question of what Donald Trump might do. It's a question of what Kamala Harris is doing right now. And if you reward what she is doing right now by giving her your vote, you become complicit in her crimes. Your fingers will be stained with the blood that pools all around her in a kind of ocean of blood, of Lebanese blood, of Palestinian blood, of the blood of women and children. Anyone who votes for Kamala Harris is voting for genocide. And nobody can justify voting for genocide by claiming that if they don't, somebody else will get in who might be guilty of the same crimes as she. First of all, he wasn't guilty of the same crimes as she the last time he was president. That's a simple matter of fact. Secondly, although he says many wildly contradictory things, like a stopped clock, he's going to be right twice a day. And two of those times are sure to be the bringing to an end of the war in Ukraine, which has killed 1 million people, 1 million people, and burned hundreds of billions of your taxpayer dollars, euros, and pounds. Trump's going to end that war. He's going to leave little soldier Schultz, Anna Baerbock, little Macron. He's going to leave Keir Starmer and Big Dada Amin Lammy looking like losers when he stops the war that they are perverting their entire economies and societies in support of. But more of that point later. In any case, Donald Trump says he's going to do entirely contradictory things. And it is distinctly possible that he means them even when he's contradicting himself. And therefore, the coming struggle for Donald Trump's ear will be exceedingly important. But none of that matters. You can't justify voting for what somebody is doing by claiming that if you don't, somebody else will get in who might do something as bad, if not worse. It's a matter of simple political logic. And I'm not asking you to vote for Donald Trump. I'm just telling you, if it's down to Trump versus Harris, give me Trump any time. Trump today, for example, just said that he's going to bring peace to the Middle East. Trump today just said, this day, that he's told Netanyahu that this war has to be over by the time he takes over the White House in January. So that doesn't square with other things he said, I'll grant you. But we're not talking about what he might do, but what Harris is doing right this minute. I've been looking at pictures all day. I've been tweeting them. They're viral. Hundreds of thousands of people have retweeted my tweets today of a little girl, for example, dangling from a building, dead. They should hang their heads in shame, those who support this, shouldn't they? I just retweeted another one that's going viral already, of a little girl in the fetal position, scorched to death on the earth of the Gaza Strip, in which she has lived, existed for all of her young life until now, because she's been burned to death by American bombs, fired from American airplanes, costed by American taxpayers, paid in American dollars. So the crimes that Harris is committing are ongoing right until this hour, and they will be ongoing until the end of the Biden-Harris administration. That much is certain. If you're going to support a genocide, even when it's losing you a presidential election, you can be sure they ain't going to stop once they have lost it. And Biden just said, if Iran retaliates with a third strike on Netanyahu's gangster regime tonight or tomorrow or by the weekend, if they do, America is going to join in again on Israel's side, possibly bringing us into World War III. Isn't that a decent reason to punish an American administration that they are so recklessly ready to lead us into World War III, not just in the Persian Gulf, not just in the conflict in the Levant, but also in the conflict in Ukraine and also in the conflict in the South China Sea, in the Straits of Taiwan? How many possible World War IIIs will it take you to decide that the Democrats, Biden and Harris, are a clear and present danger to the safety and security of the world? Iran is definitely going to retaliate, whether Joe Biden in his dotage likes it or not. And why shouldn't they? It's really just schoolboy arithmetic, you know. Israel has hit Iran 3 times. Iran has hit Israel 2 times. That means Iran has a right to defend itself for a 3rd time. Does it not? Are you really seriously asking the country that's been illegally attacked 3 times not to retaliate for a 3rd time? What would that achieve except to invite the 4th? But the 4th has already been declared by the Israeli cabinet this very week, who in retaliation for the Hezbollah attack on Netanyahu's bedroom in his stolen house, in which he wasn't even present, they're going to attack Iran for a 4th time. So it's tit for tat, except the Iranian tat is far more powerful than the Israeli tit. Unless Netanyahu intends to fire the nuclear weapons that he continues to deny he has. The nuclear weapons that have never been declared, have never been inspected, are not subject to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Those nuclear weapons The nuclear weapons America allowed them to build. The nuclear weapons America illegally funds for their upkeep. Those nuclear weapons. Well, he might, but that would be the end. It wouldn't just be the end for the millions who'd be killed in Iran. Because, of course, the nuclear dust is no respecter of borders. It would be the end for America's closest allies in the Persian Gulf. It would be the end for Qatar, where America has its biggest military base. It would be the end for the United Arab Emirates. It would be the end for Abu Dhabi, for Dubai. It would be the end for Saudi Arabia. It would be the end for all of America's best friends in that region. If the blast didn't get them, the poison, the nuclear poison, and the nuclear winter thus produced, it would be the end for them as well. Iran still says it has no nuclear weapons and has indeed doubled down, unwisely in my opinion, in declaring that they have no intention of building one, declaring again that it is religiously precluded from developing a nuclear weapon. I could have traded that promise if they'd asked me to. I could have got them a lot in return for that promise, but they made it unilaterally without price at all. So that means Iran will not be firing a nuclear weapon back at Israel, but they will be firing probably all, certainly all, of the 250,000 hypersonic ballistic missiles that they have, and that would leave Israel a heap of smoking ash and destruction. I'm running out of time, so I want to turn to two important issues. For those abroad who don't know, there's a big fat fella called David Lammy, who's Britain's Foreign Secretary. By common consent, the dumbest Foreign Secretary that Britain has ever had. And I include James Cleverly and Liz Truss in that competition. David Lammy, or as I call him, Big Dada Amin, because he's physically morphing into the monster who once was the dictator of Uganda and famously the last king of Scotland. Big Dada Lammy made a gangster movie on TikTok today. 60 seconds of gangster. He certainly fully filled the frame. You could hardly see past him. And Big Dada said this: he's going to silence the critics of Britain's policy towards the war in Ukraine. That's what he said. Now, I don't know what he has in mind. Big Daddy Amin would have put a bullet through my head. Maybe Lammy intends that. I wouldn't put anything past him. In fact, you can't get anything past him. He's 6 foot tall and 6 foot wide. But assuming he's going to stop short of putting a bullet in my head and putting me in the river, as Big Daddy used to do in Kampala, he must have something else in mind. Maybe a banning order, Dada. You're planning on making me a non-person who may not be quoted, who may not speak, you know, like the one under which Winnie Mandela was exiled to Brandfort and declared a person who no longer existed. I know that because I climbed in her window in Brandfort to see her, to break the banning order. Me, Big Dada. You were probably eating South African oranges at Oxford University at the time. Or maybe he has other plans. Maybe he's going to close down the mother of all talk shows because we are critics of our own country's political stance towards a war on which it's expending hundreds of billions of our taxpayers' money. Well, that would be the kind of democracy that Idi Amin loved and cherished. Is that what you've got in mind, Big Dada? Are you going to have me arrested, taken off to prison, Dada? Like Idi Amin used to do? Is that what you have in mind? How are you going to silence me? How are you going to silence the millions of people in this country who are completely opposed to your policy towards Russia, towards Ukraine, and towards many other things, including your refusal to describe what's happening to the Palestinian people as genocide just this very week? We're against you. It's our right to be against you. I'm the leader of a political party in Britain, the Workers' Party of Britain. You going to shut us down, Big Daddy? You going to strike us from the ballot papers, Big Daddy Amin? What are you intending to do to silence me? Because I'll tell you something for nothing. You will never silence me. Even the bullet in the head would not silence me, because after me come many, many, many others who will, with renewed vigor and eloquence, pick up my microphone, pick up my pen. I had a kind of soliloquy I was going to make on the subject of war, but I no longer have time to do it. So I'll save it for the end of the show. I told you to fasten your seatbelts. This is the mother of all talk shows. Stay tuned.